Welcome to Mindset and Stone podcasts, where we dive deep into the most compelling books on the shelf. Join hosts Dave and Poppy as they uncover the stories, themes, and ideas that shape our understanding and inspire curiosity. Get ready to explore the big ideas that leave a lasting impact. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Mindset and Stone podcast. Our mission today is really laser focused. We are taking the financial rulebook, the one written by the wealthy, for the wealthy, and we're translating it into actionable strategy for you.
Exactly. We're doing a deep dive into the playbook of financial success, and it's all sourced directly from a Wall Street veteran who, she broke into that inner circle and then decided to share the secrets.
Right.
So we're unpacking the mindset, the strategies, and just the fundamental rules the rich actually play by.
So the title of our deep dive today, The Rich AF Mindset: How to Stop Playing Checkers and Start Winning at Financial Wealth.
We're looking at insights from a former Wall Street trader who then became a major digital media sales partner and ultimately founded the Your Rich BFF financial literacy community.
And crucially, she wasn't just observing the system, she mastered it. Hitting her first $1 million by 27.
And that rapid success is what provides the core promise here.
Okay, so what is that promise?
That financial success isn't about luck. It's not about being some kind of innate genius. It's about recognizing that the system was designed by the rich, for the rich.
And then knowing those rules?
Knowing the rules and then breaking the social taboos, that whole culture of silence that prevents the rest of us from even talking about money.
It's about making finance fun, or FUNance, as she puts it.
Exactly. And we are here to arm you with that exact information.
Okay, so let's start with the central. And I have to say, a somewhat alarming premise that kind of sets the stage for everything else in this deep dive. It's a concept that's gaining more traction. And our source material really confirms its financial truth. The American dream, as we all understood it, is dead.
It's a harsh truth to start with, but it's absolutely necessary context. The core idea is that the system was deliberately designed not just to favor, but to actively perpetuate generational wealth among these, established circles.
So it's not a level playing field.
Not at all. We have to acknowledge that it is no longer realistically possible for most people, especially younger generations or those from historically marginalized communities, to just work hard, save diligently, and then sort of passively expect to work their way to true wealth.
And this isn't just about the rules being complex, is it? It's that they are actively hidden.
That's the point.
If you don't know the rules, you can't win. And the wealthy have spent generations keeping these strategies in, quote, hushed tones on the sprawling greens of golf courses. So why is that level of ignorance so strategically useful to the elite?
Well, the source argues pretty powerfully that this sustained lack of basic financial literacy, it functions as a feature, not a bug, of the economic system.
A feature. How so?
It helps keep the working class exactly where they are working. Think of it this way. Widespread upward economic mobility, it threatens the consistent, cheap labor force that's required for essential or difficult jobs.
That's a very stark way to put it, but recent history seems to support it.
It does. Look no further than the COVID-19 pandemic. Corporate desk employees, they shifted pretty seamlessly to working from home.
Mm-hmm.
But essential workers in food service, sanitation, logistics, they were forced to show up day in and day out, often without hazard pay or even adequate protection.
Yeah, they had no other choice.
Exactly. Their financial precarity ensured they remained in those positions. Their lack of options was a function of the system.
And that lack of options it's deeply rooted in historical injustices that we just have to acknowledge here. The source material highlights this stark systemic inequality that is still so visible in wealth metrics today.
Absolutely. The disparity is, it's staggering. And it's rooted in mechanisms that actively denied wealth creation for certain groups. The data cited is heartbreaking.
What does it say?
The typical Black American family has only about 13 cents for every dollar held by the typical white American family.
13 cents on the dollar.
And this gap, it wasn't created by differences in hard work. It was created by policy.
So how exactly did those policies function to deny generational wealth, especially around something like home ownership, which is so key?
We have to understand that the primary engine of middle-class wealth in America is home equity. Historically, after World War II, the GI Bill provided these massive subsidies for white veterans to buy homes and attend college.
And that fueled decades of generational upward mobility.
It did. But black veterans were systematically denied access to these same benefits, often due to racist loan practices and, discriminatory policy implementation by local administrators.
So even with the same service records, the same intentions, the system just blocked the entry point.
It was worse than that. This denial was compounded by redlining.
Okay, explain that.
Federally backed housing policy literally drew red lines on a map around black neighborhoods, marking them as too risky for investment.
So no loans.
Right. It meant that even if a black family managed to buy a home, that property was appraised lower, it lacked access to capital for maintenance, and it just could not appreciate at the same rate as a comparable home outside that red line.
They were legally locked out of the primary wealth-building tool that built the white middle class.
And that disparity just compounds over 80 years, leading directly to that 13-cent statistic today.
Does simply learning the rules really change the game? I mean, isn't that a little bit defeatist? Suggesting the problem is individual ignorance, not the structure itself.
That's a fair challenge. The source doesn't argue that learning the rules fixes systemic racism overnight. Not at all.
Okay.
But it does argue that taking back individual agency is the only immediate path forward. And that's where this Monopoly game analogy comes in.
This story is fantastic. It perfectly frames the issue. The author talks about playing Monopoly, where her friend's boyfriend, Adam, just absolutely dominated the game.
Total financial destruction.
Complete destruction. He was ruthlessly efficient. And they eventually asked him, completely exasperated, why he was such an impossible opponent.
And Adam, who you can tell enjoyed his secret power, revealed that most people have never actually read the full, dense instruction brochure for Monopoly.
His secret was just knowledge. He knew about the auctions, the three-house rule, how to create cash flow crises for his opponents. He basically said, I know exactly how to play, and when I follow the rules as written, there's no way I lose.
And that's the systemic problem in miniature. The rules of finance, tax codes, interest calculations, credit scores, that's the instruction brochure for the real-life game.
And just having access to the rules isn't enough.
No, you need someone to translate those rules into strategy. You need actionable advice that tells you which properties to prioritize, which moves create the most leverage, and how to manipulate the cash flow.
Okay, let's unpack this. If you missed those financial lessons in school, or they weren't passed down by your family, we need to internalize the core positive message here. It is not your fault.
Yes. Recognizing that the lack of knowledge is a systemic failure, it releases that crushing personal shame.
The media and the culture, they often lean into this character assassination money narrative, shopaholic, bad with money, irresponsible.
And it focuses all the blame on you.
Exactly. But the best day to get financially literate was yesterday. The second best day is today. It's never too late to pick up the rulebook and start reading, especially when we're providing the cliff note. That necessary cognitive shift brings us to our next major section, adopting the rich AF mindset. If the game is rigged, the first step to winning is changing your core financial operating system, shifting from scarcity to asset accumulation.
And the single biggest difference between the rich and everyone else is how they generate wealth. It's really that simple.
So,
Most people make money through labor trading their time for a paycheck. Rich people, on the other hand, have their money working 24/7 for them.
right.
Because they understand they cannot physically work around the clock themselves. They leverage capital.
That's the brilliance of it. It's about building a system that is constantly generating returns, whether you are awake, asleep, or on vacation. Their wealth is fundamentally different. It's tied up in assets, making it often invisible to the outside world.
And that concept leads directly to the primary differentiator in spending habits. Rich people focus their spending power almost exclusively on assets.
Which are things that appreciate or generate income over time.
Right, instead of liabilities, which are things that cost them money and depreciate.
The source gives this perfect contrasting anecdote that really helps visualize this internal trade-off and the lack of desire to impress you.
Okay, so consider this decision point. You could take a significant chunk of cash and buy that flashy, expensive luxury car, let's say a Lamborghini, the dream car. But that car is a massive liability. It loses a substantial percentage of its value the moment you drive it off the lot.
And it requires expensive insurance, maintenance, registration.
It's a huge psychological magnet, but a terrible financial anchor.
Okay, so that's one option. What's the other?
The other is taking that same chunk of change, maybe as a 20% down payment, and buying a rundown two-family duplex.
Boring.
Very boring. Maybe even ugly. And certainly less glamorous than the Lambo. But it is pure strategic leverage.
So what does the rich person do with it?
They invest minimally in repairs, take out a mortgage, and then they use the rent payments from their tenants to pay off that mortgage. The property appreciates over time, providing capital growth.
But here's where the leverage compounds, right?
This is the key. The rich person has now freed up the cash they would have used for the mortgage, which is now being paid by the renter, and they can take that cash and invest it in the stock market instead.
So they pocket the difference between their low fixed mortgage interest rate and the market's average higher return.
The duplex makes money three ways: through rent, through appreciation, and through freeing up other cash for market investing.
Meanwhile, the owner of the Lambo is just paying depreciation, insurance, and the cost of maintaining an ego.
The rich AF mindset doesn't care about impressing you with external flash. They're happy driving an old car while cashing your rent checks and letting you pay their mortgage.
Another crucial element of this cognitive shift is moving from competition to collaboration, what the source calls the abundance mindset.
This is huge. The broke person mindset believes there is a finite pie. If you get a slice, that means I get a smaller slice, so I have to hoard every bit of knowledge or capital I have.
Right, it's a zero-sum game.
It is. The rich person operates under the abundance mindset. They understand that sharing insider knowledge like who the best tax person is or how to get into a prestigious private equity deal is strategic.
Why would they share that?
Because it creates collaboration, future indebtedness, and it expands their network of powerful allies who can later bring them even larger or more lucrative deals. They see others' success as a potential platform for their own, not as a threat.
They're not worried about hoarding every penny.
Not at all. They want money flowing and growing, creating more opportunities for everyone in their network. It's the exact opposite of the scarcity mindset that plagues most people, that constant crushing feeling that one slip-up means disaster, so you have to restrict and hoard every scrap of cash.
So this shift has to start with the most basic element of how you see yourself. The first actionable insight here is about changing the narrative you use internally.
Yes. Shift your language. Stop using those destructive self-blame phrases like, I'm bad with money, or I'm so irresponsible. Recognize that lacking financial knowledge is a systemic issue. It's a failure of the education system to teach practical mechanics, not a personal character flaw or some moral failing.
So replace that self-blame
with the core belief that you have agency and value. And that belief is what allows you to negotiate aggressively and pursue better opportunities, which is a theme we are about to dive right into.
This shift in agency is so vital, especially as we move into maximizing your earning potential. We're now focusing on the income side of the equation, which, according to this rich AF mindset, has to come before rigorous budgeting. Why prioritize inflow over restriction?
The truth here is just undeniable, and it's simple arithmetic. You can only save as much as you earn, but you can always earn more money.
Right.
If your income is stagnant, the best budget in the world can only squeeze so much blood from that stone. So focusing on career strategy and income generation, that has to be priority number one.
The personal anecdote from the author on her first job really brings this into sharp focus.
As an underage club promoter, her pay was commission-based, $5 per body in the door, and she realized really quickly that she liked working to make more money, a lot more than constantly giving things up to save money.
It was a direct calculation, wasn't it? A few minutes of texting and hustling could drum up 3 more people and earn 15 more bucks.
And that felt infinitely easier and frankly, more empowering than spending half an hour comparison shopping for the cheapest brand of yogurt to keep the grocery bill down.
So if you want a bigger financial outcome, you have to prioritize increasing the inflow, not just restricting the outflow.
But hard work is not enough. The sources stress that you need to be where your value is recognized, supported, and paid for. And that means strategic career management.
The contrast between her time at JP Morgan versus her time at BuzzFeed illustrates this critical lesson perfectly.
At JP Morgan, she initially had mentors who advocated for her, which is essential for growth. But when management changed, the new boss moved her to work for his hand-picked, openly sexist friend who took credit for her Excel work and made her feel professionally invisible.
So she realized pretty quickly that no matter how hard she worked, if her manager wasn't going to advocate for her, her career at that company was just at a dead end.
Her time, her talent, her energy, it was all being wasted supporting someone else's career advancement, not her own. And that realization is so difficult, but it's so necessary.
And then in contrast, at BuzzFeed, The path to the inner circle and high compensation was clearly defined. Be a top seller.
Right. She found an environment where politicking, networking, meeting people, and building that internal advocacy made a tangible difference in her compensation and her professional respect.
So the key insight is that if the environment is toxic or stagnant or just not going to honor your skills, you have to leave.
You have to leave. Your hard work alone will not save you. You need a champion. And if you don't have one, you need to find a company that values your talent and is structured to reward it.
This leads directly to the core tenet that rich people are always looking to trade up. Even if they genuinely love their current job, they remain open to better opportunities because they view their career as an appreciating asset.
And this is the second crucial strategic move. Know your worth and network constantly. Rich people are never satisfied with resting on their laurels. They know opportunities are created by being present in the marketplace, which means they network constantly.
Okay, so to put this into immediate action for you listening, turn on the Open to Recruiters beacon on LinkedIn right now, even if you love your job. Maintain your network by proactively checking in with people in other departments or even competitors. Put a face to a name, grab a virtual coffee. You need to keep your market value current.
And most critically, view loyalty skeptically. Not cynically, but skeptically. The data the source cites from Forbes is shocking.
It really is.
People who stay put in a company for more than 2 years, on average, end up making 50% less over the course of their working life than those who strategically switch jobs.
50% less. That's the staggering opportunity cost of blind loyalty.
50%. I mean, just think about the cumulative impact of that over 40 years. It means loyalty, for many corporations, is rewarded with stagnation.
Corporations are entirely selfish entities. The rich AF mindset dictates that you should be equally selfish and always look out for, number one, your financial self.
And that aggressive self-advocacy culminates in the act of negotiation, which is perhaps the highest value work you could possibly do.
I love how the source frames this. You should literally frame negotiation for a raise as $2,500 per hour work.
Explain that math.
If you put in 2 hours of prep work, you dedicate half an hour to the conversation, and you secure a modest $5,000 bump in salary. That is your effective hourly rate for that work.
Would you ever turn down the chance to make $2,500 an hour?
Absolutely not. But broke person logic tells you that asking for a raise is rude or offensive or that you might get fired. Rich person logic understands that the company does not care about you, and the money for a raise is coming from a corporate bank account that is literally allocated to pay staff.
Right, it's not coming out of your manager's personal savings.
The psychological barrier here is immense, though. We feel like we're imposing or creating an awkward situation for our boss. And that's where this fantastic framework, the pedicure principle, comes in.
Walk us through that, because it totally reframed how I thought about asking for a raise.
The principle is that your manager has heard raise requests before. They are a professional who deals with this all the time. You are not making it weird. You are not the first person they've had to say yes or no to, and you won't be the last. They are mentally prepared for this discussion, so you should be too.
And this is where the strategy shifts dramatically from the standard annual review trap. Most people wait, and then their boss is blindsided with a request they haven't budgeted for. Rich people are on top of it, preparing for negotiation constantly.
But asking every 2 to 3 months, as the source suggests, that seems a little aggressive, doesn't it? Even for a rich AF mindset. Wouldn't that annoy the manager and backfire?
It's a challenge to the typical workplace dynamic, for sure. But the goal isn't to get a raise every 2 months. The goal is to establish a continuous performance dialogue.
Okay, so you're keeping it top of mind.
Exactly. If you wait 12 months, your manager may have completely forgotten that incredible project you finished back in February. By asking for a conversation every 2 to 3 months to discuss performance and compensation trajectory, you keep your value top of mind, and you give your manager data points to fight for you during their internal budgeting discussions.
So the key strategic move here, the one thing you need to walk away with on earning potential, is that negotiation has to be strategic and continuous.
Negotiate strategically. First, start a bride book right now. This is a running log of every quantitative win, every time you save the company money, every piece of positive feedback. Use numbers.
Okay. Second, don't wait for the annual review. Proactively schedule those meetings every 2 to 3 months to discuss performance and compensation. And finally, use a strategic script that avoids apologizing or hedging.
What's the script?
Something like, I'd love to discuss my compensation. I've done some research, and based on my experience, skill set, and accomplishments here, a raise of X dollars would be appropriate.
And if they hesitate or say no, you immediately pivot. You ask what specific, measurable skills or accomplishments they need to see from you in the next 3 to 6 months to make that raise happen. This keeps the ball rolling, establishes clear benchmarks, and it shifts the burden of inaction back onto them.
Once you've maximized your earnings through these strategic career moves and aggressive negotiation, the next step in the Rich AF mindset is smart money management. We're shifting focus from generating inflow to the effective allocation and protection of that larger stream of cash.
And this starts with budgeting, which rich people don't see as deprivation or some kind of punishment. They call it financial planning.
Right.
And they budget meticulously precisely because they love planning and they want their money to make more money. Budgeting is how they optimize their capital efficiency.
Budgeting is what allows them to seize those unusual opportunities, like buying that rundown duplex, because they have liquidity. And critically, it prevents lifestyle creep.
The great wealth killer for high earners. If you don't plan ahead, that big promotion and higher salary will simply be swallowed up by a nicer apartment, a more expensive car loan, and fancier restaurants, leaving you just as financially fragile as you were before the raise.
So for those just starting to implement some structure, what is the best framework recommended by the source material?
A really simple, effective starting point is the 50-30-20 method.
Okay, break that down.
50% of your post-tax income goes to needs, so housing, utilities, essential groceries. 30% goes to wants, dining out, entertainment, non-essential self-care, and 20% goes to saving, paying down debt, and investing. It provides structure without being overly restrictive.
But to make budgeting sustainable, you have to connect your spending back to your work ethic and your personal values. The source introduces a powerful tool for this called value-based spending.
This changes the entire psychological equation of a purchase. Instead of asking, do I have the money in my bank account right now? You ask,
Is this worth the work I put in to get this money?
yes. And the formula provided is simple, but it is so powerful. Price of item, your effective hourly wage. This calculation tells you exactly how many hours of your life you are trading for that purchase.
Let's use an example. If a new handbag costs $500 and your effective hourly wage after taxes is $25,
You are trading 20 hours of your life, 2.5 full working days, for that bag. You then have to pause and ask yourself if you're willing to work those specific hours for that specific item. It is an incredible gut check against mindless spending.
This approach also recognizes the fundamental human need for joy and confidence. If your budget makes you perpetually miserable, you won't stick to it. This leads to the concept of non-negotiables, which is essential for sustainability.
And this is the third key strategic move for management. Embrace non-negotiables. A budget has to allow for items that bring you daily confidence or happiness. The author cites her $2,500 a year lash extensions as her personal non-negotiables.
An expense she believes provides daily confidence and saves her time on applying makeup every morning.
And she afforded it by explicitly cutting out other, less impactful items like regular manicures, expensive clothing hauls. The core truth here is a mantra for this mindset. You can afford anything, but you absolutely cannot afford everything.
So, identify one non-negotiable purchase that genuinely improves your daily life. Prioritize it in your 30% wants category and ruthlessly cut something else to make room.
Now let's talk about saving strategy, moving from the low-impact approach, what the source calls the death by 1,000 paper cuts mindset, to the platinum mindset of saving that rich people use.
The paper cuts mindset is what most of us are taught, right? Cut the coffee, stop buying lunch, cancel a streaming service. And while these things do save money,
The savings are marginal and they require constant mental effort.
right, the rich understand that negotiating small expenses yields tiny savings, maybe a few $100s a year. But negotiating big expenses yields monumental, life-changing savings for the exact same amount of negotiation effort.
And this is the fourth key strategic move. Negotiate big expenses. You should focus your energy on bargaining down the biggest, highest impact expenses in your life: housing, cars, and bills.
Why is this psychologically easier for the rich?
Because the payoff justifies the discomfort. If you spend an hour negotiating your phone bill and save $10 a month, that's $120 a year. If you spend that same hour negotiating $100 off your rent every month, that's $1,200 a year.
And the example provided on home pricing is so powerful. Negotiating the price of an average American home, currently around $350,000, down by just 5%, instantly saves $17,500.
That saving, achieved through maybe a few hours of research and negotiation, is equivalent to almost 30 years of daily lattes.
30 years.
Assuming $5 per latte every single day, that just illustrates the power of the platinum mindset. Rich people are aggressive negotiators on large transactions because the payoff is so dramatically worth the time investment.
Finally, in money management, we have to talk about credit. Rich people use credit cards constantly, not because they are broke, but because cash, debit, and credit are not equal financial tools.
Credit cards are superior for 3 key reasons. Better fraud protection, cash back and rewards, so free travel and perks. And building your credit score, the essential real-life grade that determines your access to leverage.
Why is that credit score so critical?
The credit score ranging from 300 to 850 is essential because it's a mathematical measure of your creditworthiness. The higher the score, the better the terms, and the lower the interest rates you get on massive loans like mortgages and auto loans.
And that 1% difference in mortgage interest can translate to tens of thousands of dollars in savings over the life of a loan.
The score is calculated based on 5 factors, with payment history and credit utilization being the most important, totaling 65% of your score.
The author learned the hard way how sensitive this system is. She closed her first rinky-dink credit card, and her score immediately dropped 60 points.
Why did that happen?
Because she reduced her overall available credit and shortened her length of credit history. 2 major negative hits.
So the 5th strategic action is all about optimizing this real-life grade.
Credit score optimization. First, never close your oldest credit card. It anchors your length of credit history, which is highly valued. Second, and this is most critical for a quick boost, keep your credit utilization below 30% and ideally below 10%.
And you must pay off the card in full every single month to avoid paying interest, which just defeats the whole purpose of the rewards.
Okay, we've covered earning more and spending smarter. Now we move to the financial climax. Getting your money working for you. Why do all this earning, negotiating, and budgeting? It's for freedom and optionality, which leads us to the concept of the FU number.
The FU number is the author's rebranding of the FIRE movement, which is Financial Independence, Retire Early.
Right.
She prefers the term because the goal isn't necessarily immediate retirement, which can often be associated with extreme deprivation and frugality. The goal is optionality.
The amount you need invested so that money is no longer the deciding factor in your life choices.
It's the freedom to, for example, leave a toxic job immediately, or to pursue low-paying passion work, like the author's desire to potentially work as a social worker, a job she couldn't realistically take now because she helps support her immigrant parents.
Once you hit the FU number, you get to choose where your time and energy go.
And the math behind the FU number is surprisingly simple, yet it is foundational to the rich AF mindset. It's based on the idea that you live off the passive returns of your invested capital without ever touching the principal.
The formula is FU number, annual spending, average annual rate of return. And the most important variable here is that rate of return, which requires us to talk about the 4% rule.
The 4% rule isn't arbitrary. It's based on decades of financial modeling, famously codified in the Trinity study. It suggests that if you only withdraw 4% of your total portfolio value in the first year of retirement, adjusted for inflation every subsequent year, your money has an extremely high historical probability of lasting 30 years or more.
So what does this all mean in practice? We use a conservative 4% average annual rate of return as the denominator in that formula.
Right.
If your required annual spending is $100,000, you plug in the numbers. $100,000 divided by 0.04 equals $2.5 million invested.
That $2.5 million is your bare bones FU number. That's the amount you need invested primarily in diversified stocks and bonds to generate $100,000 annually without significantly risking running out of capital.
And if you want a safety cushion, you might use a 3.5% withdrawal rate, which would increase the required total, but the principle is the same.
This calculation immediately reinforces the third core truth of the rich AF mindset. Investing, not saving, is how you get rich. You cannot save your way to financial independence.
Your savings, even in the highest yield savings account today, will likely not keep pace with inflation over decades. They certainly won't generate the massive returns needed to hit that $2, $5, or $25 million FU mark.
Investment is crucial because it allows your capital to compound and leverage market growth.
The goal, then, is to prioritize investments in tax-advantaged accounts first before anything else. This is the government giving you a specific legal mechanism to play the game on your terms.
This is the sixth crucial strategic action. Prioritize tax-advantaged accounts. If your employer offers a 401k match, you must prioritize contributing up to that match first.
Why is that so important?
That match is a 100% immediate guaranteed return on investment. It is literally free money you are walking away from if you don't use it.
After the 401k match, the next focus should be on filling other tax-advantaged accounts, primarily the Roth IRA or the traditional IRA. Explain quickly the massive difference between those two and why it matters over a lifetime.
It's all about when you pay the tax. A traditional 401k or IRA is tax-deferred. You contribute money before taxes, lowering your current taxable income today. The money grows tax-free, but when you retire and pull the money out, every dollar is taxed as ordinary income.
And a Roth IRA is the opposite.
It's tax-free growth. You contribute money that has already been taxed today, but the massive benefit is that every dollar, including all the compounded growth over 40 years, comes out completely tax-free in retirement.
So for a younger investor who expects to earn more in the future, or who believes tax rates will be higher in retirement, the Roth is incredibly powerful.
It is, because you lock in today's lower tax rate and you eliminate future tax liability on those compounding gains. That difference in tax treatment can easily be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime.
And the rich AF mindset cautions strongly against the perception that you need to be a stock market genius or spend hours reading SEC filings.
The author provides a powerful admission. Even with insider Wall Street knowledge and all the resources in the world, she lost half her money on an individual biotech stock she had thoroughly researched.
That story is an anchor point for the value of diversification.
Her lesson, and ours, is that you are far better off investing in a diversified portfolio that minimizes single company risk. This means using broad-based index funds or exchange-traded funds, like one that tracks the S&P 500.
This approach essentially bets on the entire economy growing over time.
Right. And historically, this is a very, very solid bet. While the market experiences volatility crashes are a fact of life, it always recovers from downturns over a long period. The psychological challenge then shifts. It's not about picking winners. It's about staying invested and staying the course during those turbulent times.
This brings us to the seventh and final strategic action, which ties everything we've discussed today together.
Calculate your FU number and start investing now. Determine your current or ideal annual spending and calculate your personal FU number based on that conservative 4% rule. Use this number as your tangible goal.
Then, immediately prioritize funding your tax-advantaged accounts. If your employer offers a 401k match, prioritize investing up to that match first before any other account. We have covered a vast amount of material today, moving you conceptually and practically from that scarcity mindset inherited from a rigged system to the strategic, aggressive, and collaborative rich AF mindset.
We've looked at the three pillars of financial domination: earning more through negotiation and finding the right environment, spending smarter through value-based budgeting and negotiating big expenses, and getting your money working through strategic investing and calculating your FU number.
Financial success is ultimately about shifting power back to the individual, away from the corporation or a system that was designed to keep you struggling.
And remember that money is a tool, and debt is simply leverage. You are not a bad person if you have debt or if you didn't learn this information earlier in life.
You have agency, you have value, and you are worthy of good financial service. You now have the knowledge to use debt strategically and to apply strategies like the debt avalanche method to pay down high-interest debt aggressively.
For your final challenge, I want you to identify one deeply held broke person money belief inherited from your family. Maybe it's talking about money is rude, or asking for more is greedy, or maybe debt is shameful.
And then intentionally challenge that belief this week using one of the 7 practical strategies we discussed today. That combination of knowledge combined with specific, immediate action, that's what creates options, stability, and freedom.
All of us deserve the opportunity to be rich AF.
We hope you're leaving with fresh insights and a spark of inspiration. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and check back for more episodes as we dive into new worlds of thought, one book at a time. Until then, keep your mind set in stone and your curiosity open. This has been a Big L Riz Media podcast, where big ideas meet lasting impressions.